All right, let's dive in. We're going to talk about the powerful Netflix drama 7 Seconds because it gets at this huge question, right? Why do people's actions so often seem to completely contradict what they say they believe? Well, we're going to use this really cool framework to help us peel back the layers and see what's really going on behind the masks.
Okay, this quote, this is really the heart of the whole puzzle. He looked nice, he seemed sorry, but then he walked away. It's about a man who seems to be feeling all this remorse, but then does something just shockingly cruel. So, how can both of those things exist in the same person? That's exactly what we're going to figure out.
Okay, so let's set the stage. This whole contradiction, it's born from a story that, even though it's fiction, it just feels painfully real. So picture this. It's a snowy day in Jersey City. A white police officer, Peter Jablonski, is driving his car and he accidentally hits a 15-year-old black teenager, Brenton Butler, who's on his bike. And in those chaotic, absolutely critical seconds right after the accident, a devastating cover-up begins to take shape. And this is where we get to that core contradiction. I mean, on one hand, Jablonski seems completely shattered. He's crying, he's showing guilt, he even fights his boss's plan to cover it all up. He leaves a gift at the hospital. He really looks like a good person who made a horrible mistake. But then, there's the other side. The devastating truth. The moment he sees that Brenton is a black child, he walks away. He just leaves him there to die in the snow. So that leaves us with this huge question, right? How do you reconcile those two things? The man who seems so full of remorse and the man who commits such an inhumane act. It feels impossible. But it turns out there's a really powerful tool that can help us make sense of it. And that tool is a framework specifically designed to understand human behavior. Think of it like a key that's going to unlock this whole contradiction and show us what's really going on under the surface. Okay, so it's called the 6 Stages Framework, and it was developed by Dr. Shungu H. And its purpose is, well, it's simple, but honestly, it's brilliant. It's designed to analyze that gap between what somebody seems to believe and what their actions show they actually believe. It just cuts right through the performance to get to the real core conviction. So here's a quick look at how it works. Basically, you can think of it like a spectrum. Way up at the top, in the positive range, you have +2, which is active engagement. These are people actively demanding equity. Then you have +1, awareness. That's for someone who gets the issues but might be a little passive. Then we hit the middle ground. Stage 0 is avoidance, just choosing comfort and silence. And then we start dipping into the negatives. -1 is denial, refusing to even see the problem. -2 is a lack of empathy, where you start devaluing other people. And finally, all the way at the bottom, you've got -3, active harm. That's just open cruelty. All right, now let's take this framework and apply it directly to Officer Jablonski. It's time to see if we can finally unmask what's really going on here. So at first glance, based on his tears, the guilt he shows, even arguing with his colleagues, you'd probably put Jablonski right here, at a +1. He seems aware. He seems remorseful. He looks like that nice guy who just got caught in a terrible, terrible situation. And that's the mask, right? That's the version of himself he's putting out there. But his actions tell a completely different story, a much, much darker one. That single pivotal action, walking away from a dying child, that's what exposes his actual stage. He's not a +1, no way. He is operating all the way down here at a -2, a stage defined by a total lack of empathy, where another person's life is simply seen as less valuable. And according to this framework, it's crystal clear. Jablonski's actions can really only be explained one way. In that moment of truth, his real belief system just took over. And just like Dr. Mageza says here, the truth in that moment is that they do not view the other person as a human being and they do not see their life as worth saving. Wow, that core belief completely overruled any performance of guilt. And this is such a perfect illustration of one of the most powerful ideas in this framework, the concept of masking. It teaches us that people who are operating at these negative stages can be incredibly good at pretending, at masking, as if they're at the higher, more progressive stages. They can say all the right words, they can show all the right emotions, but when that critical moment comes, their actions will always, always reveal their true beliefs. But here's the thing, it's not just about Jablonski. What's so useful about this framework is that you can use it to analyze the actions and, just as importantly, the inactions of everyone else in the story too. It shows this whole spectrum of complicity. So you can basically map out the entire ecosystem of this tragedy.
Take Jablonski's wife, Marie. She hears the truth, but she chooses silence. That puts her at a stage 0, avoidance, or maybe even a -1, denial. Then you've got Brenton's father, Isaiah. He's a clear-cut +2. He refuses to let his son be forgotten and actively fights for justice. And the police lawyer, he is a textbook case of masking. He pretends to be this progressive ally, a +2, all while operating from a -2 position to protect the system at all costs.
So, why are we spending all this time analyzing a fictional TV show? Why does this matter? Well, it matters because the themes it's exploring are anything but fiction. This story, sadly, reflects a very painful and very real ongoing reality for so many people. So, is this just fiction? The answer is a hard no. Absolutely not. This story taps directly into the kind of real-world fears and systemic problems that people are dealing with every single day. I mean, listen to this. The actress Regina King, who gives an incredible performance as Brenton's mother, she actually said she felt blessed that her own son had made it safely to age 22. Just let that sink in for a second. The series highlights how systemic failure and racism aren't always some big, loud, hateful action. Sometimes it's a crime of omission. It's that quiet, devastating choice to simply not help, to not see, to not act. And that, of course, forces us to turn the lens back on ourselves, doesn't it? This framework isn't just for analyzing characters on TV. It's a mirror. It asks us where we stand. What are we pretending not to see for the sake of our own comfort? In our own lives, in our own communities, what are we complicit in, just through our silence? Because ultimately, that's the big takeaway here. Real change starts when we stop looking away. The story of 7 Seconds, when you see it through the lens of this framework, it teaches us this one absolutely crucial lesson. It all starts with awareness. It's about learning to recognize the masks people wear, maybe even the ones we wear ourselves. It's about understanding the true cost of just doing nothing. And then it's about making that conscious, deliberate choice to stop looking away.